is Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
ZiFM Sport on a Tuesday, gonna be a good one, and to deliver it, Chris, Mike, our producer Sean, and my name is Barry. What can you look forward to? Well, on the home front, Prince Dube has described the 2-2 draw against Algeria in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers as an amazing fight after the Warriors were 2 goals down in the first half but managed to come back into the game and secure a vital point. In international sports news, we have our staple, which is the Formula One report, proudly brought to you by Zimoko, where Lewis Hamilton says he's just getting started with his Formula One journey as the new 7-time world champion issued an ominous message for his rivals after sealing the 2020 title in style at the Turkish Grand Prix.
And around the world in 60, we start in England, where Daniil Medvedev recorded his second win over Alexander Zverev in the space of 8 days to seal his first ever win at the ATP Finals in London. In Australia, Wallabies lock Ned Hannigan says former Australia coach Michael Cheika will give Argentina a leg up against the hosts in Saturday's Tri-Nations clash in Newcastle when coaching from the Pumas box. And in the United States, according to reports, former MVP James Harden has declined the Houston Rockets' offer of a contract that would pay him an NBA record $50 million per season, and is instead looking to engineer a trade that would send him to the Brooklyn Nets.
Straight after we take you around the world in 60, we'll give you our play of the day. Today is Tuesday, so it's Top Hits Tuesday, a top track in the offing for you. And then we kick off the beautiful game, big game in Europe tonight. In fact, there are 2 big games. The first one sees Spain and Germany locking horns in Seville tonight with a spot in the semi-finals of the 2020-2021 UEFA Nations League up for grabs. And then there's an equally important match which sees Croatia taking on Portugal. We'll also give you an update out of South America with a big impact on the continent of Europe. Luis Suarez has tested positive for COVID-19 and will miss the crucial World Cup qualifier versus Brazil. That's for Uruguay. But for his club, Atletico Madrid, it means that he will not be available when they take on Barcelona this Saturday. So going to be an exciting show. Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a wonderful ride. First and foremost is our power play. It's Top Hit Tuesday. And fittingly, as we celebrate the boys that fought back yesterday, this one's by Imagine Dragons. It's called Warriors.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
The great thing about nowadays is that we can continue to communicate in cyberspace on the social media streets, as they call them, and we are on all platforms. Simply search for @ZFM Sport. But you can also chat to us in our individual capacities. That's @Mike Madoda, @Chris Midzi, @Sean Tafirenyika, @Gazaman14, that's for Alice Bunjira, @Mark Pozzo, and of course I'm on @Barry Manandi. Let's get into the home front, where today we're continuing coverage of that match that took place at the National Sports Stadium, the giant National Sports Stadium, between our Warriors and indeed the Desert Foxes of Algeria. Now, Prince Dube has described the 2-2 draw against Algeria in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers as, quote, an amazing fight. The Warriors were 2 goals down in the first half, but managed to come back into the game and secure a vital point which enhanced the team's chances of qualifying for the 2021 finals in Cameroon. Captain Knowledge Musona scored Zimbabwe's first goal 4 minutes to the break to reduce the deficit before Prince Dube leveled terms with his first touch of the game in the 82nd minute. Gaddafi, he is, in fact, let's just put it correctly, Mike. Gaddafi can't stop scoring. For Azam, every single time, whether we're following the game, whether we're looking at results, invariably you will see a Dube goal if Azam has been on the score sheet. And he's now doing it in Warriors colours. You can't fault the man.
You can't fault him, Barry, and it's not just for Azam, it's also for the Warriors, because his scoring record, whenever he's been given an opportunity for the Zimbabwe national team, is actually quite good. His conversion rate yesterday afternoon was his 8th goal in 12 outings for the Warriors. So he is a reliable source of goals, not just for Azam in league football, formerly with Highlanders, but also for the Warriors whenever he's been given an opportunity. And I think the majority of fans wanted to see Prince Dube involved in this game in one way or the other. A lot of people wanted him to start the game, but I wasn't entirely surprised with the selections that Zdravko Logarisic went with. In as much as Prince Dube is exhibiting form in Tanzania, we also must consider the pedigree of the league in which he plays as compared to where David Moyo is playing. He's playing in the Scottish League. Tino Kadewere is playing for Lyon in France. So he's up against those guys. So inevitably, those guys are going to get a look in before Prince Dube. He has to wait quietly and patiently in line and do exactly what he did yesterday afternoon, which is when you're thrown in as an impact player, make an impact. Give the coach something to think about.
And bide his time, he must. Bide his time, he is doing. But in truth, if you keep delivering the goods, whether it's in Tanzania, whether it's in Warriors colours, surely at some point you give the coach something good enough to think about that will make him put you in his plans. Zdravko Logarisic echoed Mike's comments when he was asked about Prince Dube last week, saying that, look, he's playing in the Tanzanian league, so let's temper our thinking around Prince Dube. Surely, regardless of where he plays, if the man can deliver, the man can deliver. And Prince delivers every single time. We should actually call him the mailman.
Definitely. Prince is delivering, I think, week in, week out, like Mike said, for Azam. And also, when it comes to the national team, he's able to deliver as well, whether as an impact player, especially like yesterday. But I think it's, in as much as we can say that, yes, it's up to him to definitely keep delivering in order for the coach to now have questions in his mind. Sometimes it's also looking at some of the players who are selected ahead of him and saying exactly how much game time are they actually getting? Are they performing when they go out for their clubs? And to what extent are they performing? If Prince is performing like he is for Azam, player of the month, just as he gets into a new league and playing for a new team, then I think Zdravko may need to, tweak a little bit his perception to say, you know what, this kid is delivering, just give him the chance from the jump.
Some would say tweak, others would say twerk. But bottom line is Prince Dube is doing enough of a dance to get himself into Warriors selection. And when you look at the numbers, Mike, they certainly don't support the selection of David Moyo, because I think his numbers are something like 1 goal in like 9 or 10 games for his club. And then you look at Prince Dube, he's going at better than a goal a game. Surely, if the coach was considering just that, regardless of league, just on that form, you choose Prince Dube ahead of David Moyo.
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. And I think the only thing that I can think of that may have influenced Logarisic, Chitembwe, as well as Ndiraya, is the fact that they thought that David Moyo would be more of a physical presence in attack as compared to Prince Dube, who loves to have the ball at his feet or the ball played in space. And they thought maybe David Moyo's physical presence would give the Algerian defenders something to think about. He'd keep the centre-backs pinned back, he'd be able to hold up play and then bring in Tino Kadewere, bring in Knowledge Musona into play, but that didn't happen. And then when you take a look at Prince Dube, I remember you and I having a conversation, I think at some point in the first half, and we asked the question, where is the outlet? Surely this game, you anticipate that Algeria is going to have more of the possession, which is what they had in the first half. So what you want is an outlet. And the outlets that we traditionally have would be Kamabiliat and Knowledge Musona. Kamabiliat didn't start this game. Prince Dube is another option as an outlet, because we have seen him play that role at Highlanders, where he's able to play out wide and attack from those wide areas. And even at Azam, his starting point is usually not central. It's actually out wide, and then he drifts in as the play evolves. And he could have played that role versus Algeria, who in the first half deployed a very high line. You put the ball over the top, Prince Dube has got the gas to actually head towards goal. So it was a curious selection, Barry, but listen, he did make the substitution. It was an impact substitution.
Yeah.
Prince Dube scored when he did come on. So you've got to, again, take your hat off to Logarisic for making the call when he did.
You do have to take your hat off to Logarisic, and we certainly compliment him, don't we, Chris? We certainly say that he got it right in terms of the substitutions. He made the ones that needed to be made. He changed the game in the second half, and then, of course, his last substitution, bringing on Prince Dube, tucks it away with his very first touch. Kudos to the man. But it was the same Logarisic who picked the team that went out initially. Now, if we borrow Mike's thinking that David Moyo was going to be a physical presence up there, that means that Logarisic from the start of the game was conceding possession to Algeria at home, mark you, for Zimbabwe, and saying that we're going to respond.
Most teams would.
They're going to, but we were responding to their game plan. In the second half,
even Egypt, even Senegal would have to come up with a game plan. All teams, when you're up against good teams, you have to come up with a game plan. No one goes to Man City and says that we're going to dominate possession just because Man City are coming to our home patch. No, because you know what they're capable of. So I've got no problem with a coach that concedes or cedes possession to a team, even if they are visiting. But it's just about how you set up your stall. Are you then able to effectively get into the game, get into dangerous places, and create the chances?
And that's where I wanted to get to. Zimbabwe has never been, and I don't think will ever be, because we don't have the size of players, Chris, to play chuck-em-up Charlies to a big man up front who's hopefully going to hold up possession and then get the midfielders to join in with him. So perhaps in that light, Zdravko Logarisic may have had a learning point in this game, that with our smaller players, we've got, generally we're a small nation, with our smaller players, the way to play and the way Zimbabwe ought to play, whether we have possession or not, is that we need to play the ball on the deck.
We definitely need to play the ball on the deck. And I think it's one of many learning points, I think, for Logarisic. But what I'm seeing so far is that I think from every single game that he's been in charge, Logarisic is able to learn. Even from when we went out to Algeria as well, he was able to learn from that game. He came back, implemented some of the learnings yesterday. So I think as a coach, he's definitely learning these players a lot better in terms of, like Mike said, the kind of players you want to now bring on as impact players like Prince Dube. Those are the kind of indicators for me that, you know what, in as much as initially we might have been a little bit hard on him, he's learning the players, he's learning what works for Zimbabwe, and consequently going forward, he might actually be a better coach than we had anticipated initially.
He certainly seems that way, Mike, and I want to touch on or dig into your thinking around a particular player. We'll move on from Prince Dube. Kudama Hachi, whenever he comes on, does a job. Is Kudama Hachi the quintessential impact player, or is he making a shout for becoming a starter?
That's a decision that will have to be made, Barry, because if you remember, just to borrow, I think, one of the most classical examples, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's now the manager at Manchester United. He's a player who year after year, season after season, managed to deliver the goods off the bench. He was an impact player. And Sir Alex Ferguson realized that. And so what did he do with Solskjaer? He gave him limited starting opportunities because he knew that his strength was coming off the bench and making an impact and delivering in limited time when the opposition defenses were tiring and the defensive lines were beginning to become rugged. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was able to take advantage of that and cash in. So we have to think Logarisic, mainly because he's the man who's being paid $7,000 every month to do so. He has to think and try and figure out, you know what, is Mahachi good enough? Okay, he is good enough for a start, I believe. No player can ever be said he's not good enough. But for the purposes of our team, do I keep Mahachi as the guy that I bring on because of his pace and his attacking instinct with 35 minutes to go to run defenses rugged, or do I occasionally start him? You know, one way to go about it, Ben, would be to say, okay, we played Algeria. Algeria was our toughest opponent, okay? African champions, possibly the best team on the continent. We're going to play against Zambia and Botswana, who are nowhere near that category. So what do? People are talking about Prince Dube as a potential starter. Those are the games where you say, okay, Prince Dube, let me see what you've got. I'm going to start you. I'm going to start you and Mahachi. Let's see what you guys can do for me from the start. And then you'll be able to see whether they have the capacity to deliver from the onset. If they deliver versus Botswana, versus Zambia, then you've got something to think about, because you're thinking, you know what, these guys can actually cut it from the very start.
Chris, in the final analysis, we obviously didn't then get an opportunity to give a prediction of what we thought the Warriors-Algeria tie, how it would end, the two-legged affair back-to-back. And in the end, it was 4 points to Algeria, 1 point to Zimbabwe. What's your thinking around that? And I'm going to hazard a guess that you probably thought that Zimbabwe would end up with 0 points out of these two games. So are you happy with the return that we got? Is it decent? Can we look up and be confident going forward?
Was I completely happy with it? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no because I think in both of these matches, we saw opportunities where Zimbabwe could have, if they had taken those chances in both of these games, if the chances had been taken, likelihood is the games might have ended up slightly different than they did. We might have got a couple more goals in either of the matches. So am I completely happy? No. Am I happy that the Warriors were not completely obliterated by an Algeria side that I'm going to say is definitely far superior than we are, even just from a rankings perspective? Then I'm happy that they were able to some extent to hold their own. And going forward, I think if we can get our pieces right, if we can get our preparations right, then I think we definitely stand a better chance going forward.
But how do we support the man, Mike? How do we support this man?
Barry, but here's the thing, guys, before I answer your question, Barry, is that this Algeria side was not playing out of third gear, and they still
they weren't great.
And they weren't great, and they still beat us. They still collected 4 points, the 4 points that they needed. And when I take stock of what happened over the last week, is that we just got the 1 point. Zambia got 3 points. Botswana got 3 points. And so what does it mean when you take a look at the group standings? It means that Botswana and Zambia are now in the fight for that second qualifying spot in our group. So this was not an entirely great week for Zimbabwe. Okay, national pride intact because of some of the reasons that Chris is talking about, that we weren't obliterated. But just because we weren't obliterated doesn't mean we were particularly great. We came up against an Algeria side. You know, Mahrez played only in moments. He didn't play at that intensity that he normally plays at when he's playing for Man City. And you'll find out that when you play against the likes of Algeria and Egypt and Senegal and Cameroon and Nigeria at AFCON, they play at a different level with a different intensity, because those are the games that they take seriously. These games, they tend to manage themselves, they tend to pace themselves. They're not playing at hundreds because, you know what, he doesn't want to get injured because he's got more important games that he wants to play when he gets back to England with Man City, especially with the critical part of the English season coming up as we know it, late November, December and January. So for me, slightly disappointed that, you know what, we weren't able to take advantage of that lethargy that was exhibited by Algeria to try and at least have grabbed just one victory. One victory would have made a difference if we had beaten them at home. But listen, each time we found ourselves behind the 8 ball. I mean, 2 goals down, playing at home, 2 goals scored in 4 minutes, 34th minute, 38th minute, you're playing catch-up versus Algeria, and that's nowhere near good enough. But the support that Logaricic needs, the first one, Barry, we've heard rumors of interference when it comes to match selection. Let's hope that when it comes to squad selection, let's hope that they're not true. Logaricic has got to be able to pick his own players that he trusts, players that he knows he can get a performance out of. That is one of the key things. Secondly, we've got to give him time to prepare, because he has shown that he doesn't quite know his players yet 100%, but he's also shown, as a result of his in-game management, which we have praised, that if he is given time with his players and he's given friendly match opportunities, he's able to come up with something with the Warriors because he seems to manage the game very well. So those are the two things. Give this guy support when it comes to preparation. And secondly, don't interfere with him when it comes to squad selection. Let's get our best players in camp for the Warriors because we showed that we can compete.
So after those games, Group H looks like this. All teams having played 4 games. Algeria is on top and has qualified for AFCON with 10 points. Zimbabwe is in second with 5 points. Botswana is now on 4 points after their 1-0 victory over Zambia yesterday. Zambia is at the base of the table with 3 points. However, either one of Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana is able to qualify depending on what happens in the remaining 2 match days. Before we move into a local sports news roundup, let's give you a quick update on the return to football here in Zimbabwe. Most Premier League teams have begun their training after they underwent COVID-19 testing, and that was during the past week. The lower division sides can only watch from a distance, unfortunately. ZiFM Northern Region Division 1 teams, which gained promotion from Division 2, say they'll wait for the right time to play again. Looks like football is stirring, Michael. There seems to be action. However, it's not the whole pyramid, and it looks like they're sticking fast to this 2-week competition, whatever it looks like.
Why play? Why even bother? For me, Barry, I go back to what I've consistently said over the last few weeks, is that $1 million is a lot of money to waste on a kickabout. That's not of particular use to anyone.
No.
I don't think it benefits the teams that are involved. It certainly doesn't benefit Zimbabwe football because Zimbabwe football is not the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. Zimbabwe football are the lower divisions. Zimbabwe football, Barry, are the district, the area zone. Zimbabwe football is social football even because there are more numbers there playing the game than you'll find from the 18 or so teams that ply their trade in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. So hey guys, 1.2 million, they're saying, let's use this money next year. Let's get off to an early start. Let's get an FA Cup competition that ZiFM funds using that very same money that could actually benefit the clubs more. Let's prop up the teams, not just in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League, but in the lower divisions as well, who need the financial aid to keep going and to make sure that they stay afloat in these challenging times.
All right, so the advice there is use that money for a cup competition. Chris, where they're talking about a bubble, likelihood they want to stick fast to that bubble. We're 2 weeks out from December. December has 4 weeks. And then in truth, once we get to January, we're about 8 weeks out from a possible start of a full league program. Shouldn't we just wait for that?
We should absolutely just wait for that. I think, like we've said repeatedly, the concept of a bubble is used in critical situations, in situations where there's no choice but to return to action. In this scenario, there's a definite choice. There's a definite choice to almost reroute those funds and be able to use them next year. If we are ballpark 10 weeks away from action, why have the bubble? Why spend that amount of money when the rest of Zimbabwe football could actually be using it for different things?
There's an old ad I used to watch on ZBC. It used to say, Wagainonokera Colgate. Perhaps Sagainonokera.
Hi, I'm Clemens Matau, chicken in midfielder. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
In your local sports news roundup, we start with rugby, where the Zimbabwe Rugby Union President Aaron Jani has been elected into the Rugby Africa's Women's Advisory Committee, WAC. Jani, who has been ZRU president since December 2017, was recently named in the newly formed committee, which was established to advise all Rugby Africa committees on positive gender inclusion practices with a particular focus on women's rugby. In line with Rugby Africa's strategic plan and broader world rugby commitments, the role of the commission is to define key performance indicators to demonstrate progress of the development of women in rugby at all levels. In basketball news, the International Basketball Federation, FIBA, in consultation with the Basketball Union of Zimbabwe, BUZZ, have resolved to postpone the 4th edition of the Southern Africa 3x3 Under-18 basketball tournament that had been planned for December in Bulawayo to next year. The closure of certain countries' borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic led to the cancellation of the competition that was meant to run from the 3rd to the 6th of December. 10 countries, which include hosts Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, South Africa, and the Indian Ocean Islanders, Madagascar, as well as the Seychelles, had confirmed their participation in writing.
And we wrap it up with athletics news, where athletes will have something to look forward to following the approval of the National Athletics Association of Zimbabwe Interprovincial Championships, which are expected to take place this month. The meet is scheduled for the 29th of November at White City Stadium in Bulawayo with limited events. Only 5 track events will be staged on the day: the 100-meter dash, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, and the 5,000 meters. The meet will be the first event for athletics after a long break due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Hi, this is Mike Madud, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play. From sunny Melbourne to the streets of Monaco, the deserts of Bahrain to the jungles of Brazil, get up to speed on the Formula One Report. The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimbabwe, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, specialized service for special brands.
Big congratulations to Lewis Hamilton on his 10th victory of the season, which saw him claim the 7th driver's title of his career. A truly incredible achievement and something that we at Zimbabwe are really proud of. Now, following that victory by Lewis Hamilton driving the world's best Formula One car, we thought it was appropriate to talk about our exotic car lineup from Mercedes-AMG, which are available from Zimbabwe, the only official Mercedes-Benz distributor in Zimbabwe.
Yes, indeed. Adrenaline, speed, precision, and safety are at the core of the Mercedes-AMG range, and there's an AMG for every Mercedes model, whether it be an SUV, a cabriolet, sedan, estate, coupe, hatchback, or roadster. There's a high-performance car to suit your personality. One of our favorite Mercedes-AMG cars is the GT Roadster. Now, the facelift of the Mercedes-AMG GT Roadster family shows off the refined exterior design, the comprehensively upgraded cockpit, and the increase in safety and comfort with the new assistance system.
The impressive sports car technology can be experienced even more intensely with the top down. The Mercedes-AMG GT Roadster is the perfect combination of lifestyle and sportiness. With a top speed of 310 kilometers an hour and an acceleration of 0 to 100 in just 3.8 seconds, it combines impressive performance with leisurely cruising. The AMG Sports chassis, the active air management system, and the high-quality interior are the main highlights of the Mercedes-AMG GT Roadster.
The Mercedes-AMG GT-C Roadster provides the most intensive way ever to experience a sports car. Unlimited open-top driving pleasure and impressive performance ensure your emotions are tugged at by virtue of this vehicle. It pushes the limits of dynamic driving with a top speed of 316 clicks per hour and acceleration of 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds. Highlights of this beast include the AMG rear axle steering, the AMG ride control sport suspension, and the broad tail end. These GTs are real showstoppers with their AMG specific radiator grille, AMG high performance composite brake system, and the AMG exhaust system. Stay tuned to hear more about our AMG line.
Z.
Let's get into the Formula One news proper, where Lewis Hamilton is celebrating, and he says he's just getting started with his Formula One journey as the new 7-time world champion issued an ominous message for his rivals after sealing the 2020 title in style at the Turkish Grand Prix. Reflecting on his journey from a Formula One mad child to a Formula One history maker, Hamilton, who called his latest achievement unimaginable, also urged youngsters to dream the impossible as they can become a trailblazer like him. Let's hear from Lewis Hamilton.
I think that's the most beautiful part of it, really, is you know, I remember being a kid and watching TV when I was 5 and watching all these Grand Prix and loving cars and not necessarily having someone who looked like me in the sport, but I still dreamt that I could still potentially one day get there, and So, I think there's going to be a lot of kids out there who will still look at all these different industries and perhaps not see a representative, someone that looks like them. But you can be a trailblazer. You can create your own path for others to follow. And I just say, dream as big as you possibly can. And don't let anybody tell you. Don't even have to tell people what that is if you don't want to. But don't let people tell you either way you can or you can't. There's nothing you can't do if you put the time and effort into it, and naturally, hopefully, have the support around you like I did. I'm not looking at legacy, no, but definitely this year. I think every other year that I've come in, I think you're one man on a mission. Of course with a large group of people, but there's a team championship to win, and then there's a drivers one, and it takes everything, so much sacrifice in a year to be at your best all year long, and it's kind of quite a lonely fight in that sense as you're fighting for that world title. I think this year has been so much different in the challenge that we've had, obviously with the COVID, and then not just that, when we've seen the Black Lives Matter movement, that really for me gave me so much drive and so much focus to be able to utilize it, realize, okay, we've got to really use this platform that we have, which is amazing, but to really not, because there's a lot of organizations in the world that turn a blind eye to a lot of stuff that's happening, and they'll use the excuse that it's political, and it's not. Human rights is not a political thing. It's that everyone has it. Human rights should be equal for everyone, and we're going to all these countries where that is an issue, and it's not necessarily that we don't have to shut those areas off. We have to figure out how we can engage more, how we can really utilize the platform to encourage and push for change. And that, I think that's what's been a real drive for me this year. And you're seeing that coming out in my driving, because I have now another fire burning. And whilst I've got this championship, there's still another big win out there, but it's going to take all of us coming together.
Well, Chris, that Lewis Hamilton was going to end up as world champion was really inevitable. I mean, he's been that dominant in Formula One over the last few years, but we must still celebrate, because this is a phenomenal achievement for him to reach to 7 world titles like the legendary Michael Schumacher. This is something that a decade ago, a lot of people would have said, it's impossible.
Definitely. It definitely needs to be celebrated. There'll be people who say, oh no, he's still not the greatest driver. He's still not this and that. But I think just to be able to make the achievement shows there's something about you as a driver, regardless of the vehicle you're driving. And I think something that stands out about Lewis Hamilton as well, and I think Toto Wolff mentioned this in one of his interviews afterwards, was that he's done more with this platform. In as much as, yes, he's achieved this, he's done quite a lot with this platform. And that's one of the things that makes him stand out as a driver.
It's also one of the things, Barry, that perhaps polarizes Formula One audiences, because Formula One audiences classically can be divided into two. It's the first group being your rank and file supporters, you and I, who of course watch Formula One on TV and occasionally will go down to Dubai or to Abu Dhabi, or to Silverstone and get to watch the race. And then the second group are the elite investors in the sport, the elite fans, those that pour money into Formula One, those that are invested financially into the sport, who perhaps have been rubbed the wrong way by the activism of Lewis Hamilton. That's why sometimes he doesn't command as much respect as a result of the fact that he's been anti-establishment, or at least he's been viewed as such.
Mike, I'm going to agree with the last part of that and say that, yes, being viewed as anti-establishment. And I think that, look, it started with very pure intentions. He was certainly out for social justice and looking for causes that he could support and advance. And I think he realized that it was giving him a lot of capital in terms of getting his name out there and getting his brand into various circles that it wasn't ordinarily. So now, because it's giving him that capital, he's gone and carried on with that. Yes, it's left a few noses out of joints and probably doesn't give him the respect that he deserves. Bottom line is, we are watching one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time. He says that he's just getting started now. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say I think he's just about to get finished. Once the turbo hybrid era is gone, then we'll see whether Lewis Hamilton really has it in the tank. I suspect it's going to become a lot more competitive.
Yeah, it will probably become a lot more competitive. And of course, for Formula One fans, just some breaking news here, courtesy of the Daily Mail. They're reporting that Michael Schumacher, who's the man that Lewis Hamilton has just joined as a 7-time world champion, is following his son's rise to Formula One from his bed. And that's been revealed by FIA President Jean Todt. And it's the strongest indication yet that the racing legend is conscious after his 2013 skiing accident. So that's really good news. I think a lot of sports fans who are big fans of the Scuderia and big fans of Schumi as a sports star will be happy to hear that the man is on the mend. And we hope that in many ways he can make some sort of a recovery. Your driver's standings: Lewis Hamilton is the champion for season 2020, 307 points. He cannot be caught, not even by his teammate Valtteri Bottas, who's in second, who's got 197 points. But he can be caught by Max Verstappen of Red Bull, who's in third on 117 points, just 27 points behind him. In fourth is Sergio Perez of Racing Point. Charles Leclerc of Ferrari is in fifth on 97 points. Your constructors' standings see Mercedes as the champions, 504 points. Red Bull is second, Racing Point is third, McLaren is fourth, and Renault is fifth. Your next race is next Sunday. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Z.
Let's continue with our talk about the AMG range. Now, the night edition adds a further touch of dynamism to your Mercedes AMG GT. The expressive elements of this edition build on the AMG exterior and interior night packages with design highlights such as the upholstery in exclusive style Napa leather or black brake calipers, adding an extra touch of individuality.
Now, there are other packages which you can customize to suit your individual taste, and they include the AMG exterior night package featuring selected exterior elegance in black with a high gloss finish. The AMG exterior chrome package features shiny chrome elements for the exterior to emphasize the high quality of your Mercedes AMG. And finally, the AMG exterior carbon package, which emphasizes the sporty character of the Mercedes AMG GTC and makes your vehicle look even sportier and technologically superior.
Now, as the high-performance sibling of Mercedes-Benz, the Mercedes AMG takes each Benz model to the max in terms of performance, pushing each model you can ever dream of to the next level while still maintaining the superior level of safety and comfort you would expect from a Mercedes-Benz vehicle.
Now, all Mercedes AMG vehicles are available from Zimbabwe, the only general distributor of Mercedes-Benz vehicles in Zimbabwe. Talk to one of our knowledgeable product executives today at our Zimbabwe showroom at Sem Levy's Village and order your dream AMG sports car today. Now, all vehicles bought through Zimbabwe come with a manufacturer's warranty, first free service and complete parts and service backup to keep your Mercedes-Benz on the road the way the engineers intended. Live your dream and live your life with Zimbabwe.
The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimbabwe, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, specialized service for special brands.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in England, where Daniil Medvedev recorded his second win over Alexander Zverev in the space of 8 days to seal his first ever win at the ATP Finals in London. The Russian made his debut at the event 12 months ago, but failed to win any of his 3 round-robin matches. He returned to form impressively by beating Zverev to win the Paris Masters last weekend, and the world number 4 scored a repeat with a 6-3, 6-4 victory in a bruising encounter at the O2 Arena. We head over to Australia, where Wallabies lock Ned Hannigan says former Australia coach Michael Cheika will give Argentina a leg up against the host in Saturday's Tri-Nations clash in Newcastle when coaching from the Pumas box. Cheika, who said in May he could never coach against Australia, took a consultancy role with the Pumas in September and helped guide Mario Ledesma's side to their breakthrough 25-15 win over the All Blacks in Sydney on Saturday. We'll touch down in the United States, where, according to reports, former MVP James Harden has declined the Houston Rockets' offer of a contract that would pay him an NBA record of $50 million per season, and instead is looking to engineer a trade that would send him to the Brooklyn Nets. ESPN reported last night that Harden turned down an extension for 2 years and $103 million beyond the existing 3 years and $133 million on his contract.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić, and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference. Z. The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. The league that makes football oh so beautiful. Where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day. Where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wants it!
All right, we've reached the back end of the international break, the last international break of 2020, and the Nations League is tidying itself up tonight. Spain and Germany will lock horns in Seville with a spot in the semi-finals of the 2020-21 UEFA Nations League up for grabs. Now, Germany are currently top of that league, League A, Group 4, with 9 points, 1 point clear of second place Spain, meaning La Roja will need to triumph in order to claim first spot in the section. Mike, you got to think to yourself, this is a very tasty affair, all to play for.
Yeah, all to play for, Barry, and it has come down to this for two teams that have not been entirely convincing. Both teams are on a rebuilding phase. Both teams looking to get a result out of this game. You take a look at Spain. I think Spain had an opportunity playing Switzerland, a team that they were expected to beat, a team that they should have beaten, to be honest. Sergio Ramos, of course, fluffing his lines on a couple of occasions from the penalty spot after having gone, I think, on a 25-match scoring streak for La Roja and Real Madrid from the penalty spot. So they will look back, if they lose this game versus Germany, they'll look back at that lost opportunity as to perhaps be the reason why they have not progressed in this particular tournament. For Germany, I think they carry on rebuilding, trying out new combinations, and they'll be looking, of course, just to get one over a Spain side that possibly doesn't have a central striker. You take a look at the players that they've chosen to play. They've chosen, I think, Olafabo to play as the main striker. That's a far cry from the days when Spain used to have the likes of Fernando Torres, El Nino, the likes of David Villa, and players of that ilk playing up front. So this is a game that Germany will feel that, you know what, as long as we can keep Spain out, we'll probably have an opportunity to score the other end and win the game. So I reckon Germany might be good for victory in this game.
Two teams in transition. The one thing that Germany can say is it looks like Timo Werner is beginning to look quite the business in white and black.
Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
There's another big game on in the UEFA Nations League tonight, and it sees Croatia taking on Portugal. Portugal are just 3 points behind France in their group, and of course they're keeping the World Cup champions honest. And then you got Croatia, who are trying to stave off the scepter of relegation from their group. They don't want to drop from the top tier of this particular European competition, and it sets it up quite nicely, isn't it, Chris? Because despite this being a competition that confuses even the most knowledgeable of pundits, never mind fans, the one thing it's been designed to do is try and keep a level of interest and competition going until the very end.
It sets it up really nicely and makes it interesting because what Croatia is essentially avoiding here is relegation. They've only managed to get 3 points, but Portugal as well, needing those 3 points to ensure that they do go forward. France is 3 points ahead of them, so they want to make sure that they get these points. So what you get then is two teams who absolutely need to battle it out to win, and this obviously makes it a lot more interesting than it normally would be.
Now, Barry, Croatia will obviously be keeping an eye out on the other game in the group, which sees bottom of the table Sweden taking on table toppers France, and they'll be hoping that the world champions can do them a favor.
Yeah, they will be hoping that the world champions can do them a favor, and chances are they will. Well, you said on yesterday's show that France looks like they are the business, possibly one of the best teams in the world at the moment. So you want to think to yourself, albeit that Sweden is playing very good football, playing well at the moment, they look like a team, a unit. I think France might just have too much for them. So looks like this one will probably go according to the form book.
The Nerazzurri, the Black and Blues, Inter Milan.
It's Romelu Lukaku, and it was never in doubt. He's a beast at the best of times, but this season he has become a monster.
The Giallorossi, the Yellow and Reds, AS Roma.
Belotti has a go! Tremendous hits! That's what he's capable of!
La Viola, the Purple Ones, Fiorentina.
Franck Ribéry seals a glorious win for Fiorentina with a sumptuous goal at San Siro.
The Bianconeri, the Black and Whites, Juventus.
Ronaldo seals yet another 3 points for Juventus.
Tough yet colourful, the best of Italian football on Z.
Heading to South America now, Luis Suarez, who tested positive for COVID-19, will miss the crucial World Cup qualifier against Brazil, as well as Atletico Madrid's match against Barcelona, his former club, on Saturday. Brazil, the only team with a 100% record, top a tightly packed table on 9 points from 3 games. Barry, Uruguay here, definitely a dent for them, especially now that they're going to be going up against Brazil. They would have needed a player like Luis Suarez.
Yeah, Luis Suarez will assist any team. We saw it now with what he's done at Atletico Madrid since arriving there, delivering the goods, and Uruguay will certainly miss him, especially against a Brazil team that seems to be finding a way. They've got a 100% record. They haven't had it all their own way. They recently played Venezuela, and it took a last-ditch effort to get that win. But they have been doing the business and finding a way. So Uruguay would have wanted to have all their best talent on the field. Tragically, because of COVID-19, Luis Suarez will not be available for them.
Tonight's fixtures in the South American World Cup qualifiers: Ecuador versus Colombia, Venezuela will take on Chile, Paraguay versus Bolivia, Peru versus Argentina, and that one we just discussed, Uruguay versus Brazil.
Okay, that's all we have time for. We gotta go. We'll catch you tomorrow for Wacky Wednesday. Stay tuned to ZiFM Stereo because the news is up next, and we'll keep you entertained throughout the night. We will be back as a sports team at 6:05 tomorrow. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.